Welcome back to the Two Blues podcast. Do not adjust your set. Welcome back to a live stream with me, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks. It's been a minute since we've done a live stream, but we figured, you know what, transfer deadline day. We normally film in this time slot anyway to drop our video tomorrow, but with the transfer window coming to a close, 7 p.m, the deadline shuts. Obviously, there will be deals still completed after that. If people don't get the paperwork through in time, we fully expect to be on here for longer than 20 minutes. But yeah, we're going to discuss today all of the latest news, transfer rumours, not just surrounding Chelsea, but across the Premier League, across the world as well. Plenty of big profile transfers happening around the world today. It's been, I don't know about an extremely exciting transfer market, but when you look back at it, Charms, a lot of money's been spent in this last couple of months. It feels like it's been a long old window.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the person to blame for that. I think that everyone else can, about how it's kind of like you're not shocked that you see a certain account posting. But yeah, I think that this has been one of the more exciting windows we've had in a minute in terms of like overall money spent, big transfers coming in, all the teams that needed to get their strikers done. I think we can confirm now that they've got their striker in, if not two of them. And yeah, it's been a really exciting window. A lot of shock transfers. There was even a transfer this morning, Chelsea related, Fulham, that kind of threw me through a loop a little bit. But yeah, this is the beauty of our sport, is it's a ruthless cutthroat industry, and sometimes people transfer to clubs that you wouldn't expect them to. And also, we're going to have to talk about the Alexander Isak situation, but that felt like that was pending. That felt like that was going to happen for the last couple of months. We spoke about this multiple times, and to wake up, or in my case, fall asleep to see the announcement. It's just like, it's how have they spent 130 million again on a striker? It's just like this window has been absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. You did say their announcement. Let's just remember, I mean, if anybody's had a bad track record this window, it's Fabrizio Romano. So even though other people have tweeted it, even though other people have said it, I don't believe in tears with journalists anymore. I think this window has really exposed the agent fees, the money that these journalists get paid to forward, to push certain moves and agendas. But before we go, I mean, there have been quite a few high-profile transfers, obviously, across the Premier League that we'll go into. But we'll start at Chelsea. And obviously, the highest profile kind of move at the moment is, of course, Nicolas Jackson. Now, a week ago, and well, for the last couple of weeks, we've both known, as well as the majority of the Chelsea fan base, we've both known that he is on his way out, as well as Christopher Nkunku. We managed to get Christopher Nkunku out on a permanent to AC Milan. Not the best money, but again, not the worst. I think for what he's done in the last year, good bit of business. It's more important to get, a sizable chunk and him off the book when you weigh up the pros and cons. Nicolas Jackson has been looking like a loan move, but with players, I mean, before kind of you comment on the move itself, with so much scrutiny recently on players like Isak, Wissa, pushing for moves, these players have been frozen out of the squad. How do you feel about how Chelsea have treated Nicolas Jackson, particularly in the last 24 hours, given that, they've given him authority to fly to Germany, then they've said, come back, we want the deal on, we want the deal on. We don't know at the moment. I mean, we can sit here and say, it's been here we goed. I don't think anybody knows whether he's coming or going at this point.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like I've got a very strong opinion on this. I have a problem when players refuse to integrate or train with the club that is currently putting food in the fridges of their families. I don't like it at all. What these lot make in a week, I make across the next 3 years. I think that's not really appreciated anymore. And a player like Nicolas Jackson, for example, we've given him time and time again an opportunity, a chance for 2 seasons now. Be there, be our man, do this, go down the middle, be on the left, start every week, player you want. He gets 2 red cards in his last 2 games, in the only 2 games that we've lost in a minute. And then, it's been bad performances. We've replaced him with a player like Joao Pedro, who's bagged 5 goals in his first 6 games at Stamford Bridge. He's been unreal. Liam Delap's been really good as well. We spoke multiple times about his off-ball movement, his on-ball presence, the way that he's a bit of a bully, likes to shoot. As soon as he's come on the pitch, he doesn't care. He switches off. And I prefer these 2 strikers, you know what I mean? Like already, off rip, I prefer these 2 as strikers. But when a player like that gets injured, like a Liam Delap, while you're on a plane, if your club that once again is putting food in the belly of your children is saying that you need to come back home, you need to go back home. It's unfortunate and it might be detrimental towards your short-term career. You'll be gone in January. And if you have a good stint, you come on and you bag, it's not a loan move. It's probably a permanent. You know what I mean? It could make sways. It can have effects. So I'm not really... Everyone's talking about how Chelsea have disrespected Nicolas Jackson, but I counter with the fact that I watched Chelsea week in, week out for the last few years and with Nicolas Jackson up top, and I can say with full confidence, we've given him plenty of chances and we've not been unfair to him. So for him to turn around and be like, well, you need me now, I'm not going to be... You're not my ex-team. You can't just turn around and do that and just start making it all emotional. Like, it's mad to me. I don't know. I feel like if you're told to turn around and move, you can't throw your toys at the pram. But I get he wants to push the move for his own betterment. And at this point, I will take Mark Yu. I actually don't mind. But
I don't think Jackson has, so to speak, thrown his toys out the pram. I don't know if he's even made a comment on social media. I think if anything has been said through him, it's been by his agents. But my understanding is that he's just, been put in a very difficult situation, at least with Wissa and Isak. And just very quickly, I'm very much in the same boat as you. No player is ever bigger than the club. I don't care who you are and what club you're at. It could be Lionel Messi at Shrewsbury Town, bruv. You are not bigger than the club. Does not matter who you are, what you're earning. So, like you said, if this club, if you've signed a contract for 5 years and you get 100 grand and then you play well for a year, you can't just turn around and go, bruv, talk to your agent. Can't be whinging at the club. If they offer you a better contract, if the relationship is good, it'll all work out. But I agree. Players throwing their toys out the pram to get a move is never something that we want to see. However, I do feel sorry for Nicolas Jackson because I feel like this situation particularly, I feel like it's, there's a few more moving parts than just the Isaac one or the Wissa one, whereby the club, can't find a replacement. It's, it's more about obviously injury and I don't know. Do you feel, because that was my first thought when Delap got injured early on Saturday, was obviously we're not even using João Pedro as a 9 at the moment. I know Cole Palmer, when he comes back in, will probably push him a little bit higher. But given that we're using João Pedro as a 10, do you not think Jackson would make sense to keep Jackson, even if it was just a bench option?
Well, 100%. I feel like the last 2 weeks, with Palmer and Delap particularly, I feel like they're the only two players that could have forced this situation where we'll probably end up playing Nicolas Jackson. And just to clarify, like when I say throwing the toys out the pram, it's because I've heard that he goes to Bayern and then when he gets told he has to come back, because they just said we're not leaving Munich. And that is the bit that spins me, because in the end of the day, agent works for the player. You know what I mean? So I feel like snakes in the grass aren't the best thing. But yeah, I feel like as you said, it's unlike those other two situations. He's been replaced while still at the club. It's not like they've sold him and they're getting players in or they're looking for whatever. Like, he's being pushed out the club and he's sitting on the bench watching people in his position. So it can't be easy for him. But yeah, once again, like I feel like this is the worst case scenario in terms of like what could have happened in the Nicolas Jackson sale drama, because now I feel like on paper, yeah, it's probably right to call him back.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, the latest update that we've got is that, like you said, and we mentioned earlier, Mark Yu, it looks like he's going to be the one to come back and deputise. He's a player that Maresca clearly really, really likes, not just, his ability, but I think his work rate as well. We both commented on that multiple times when he played last season, mostly in the Conference League. But the latest update we've got on the Jackson deal is that if it does move forward, it will be a loan move for £14.3 million loan fee. And if I'm not mistaken, that's one of, if not the highest loan fees ever in the history of transfers. And then Chelsea, apparently it includes a mandatory obligation to buy for 56 mil if he hits a minimum number of appearances. And I can't imagine he won't, because he's playing second fiddle to Harry Kane, who is getting on. So he's going to have plenty of opportunities, A, to come on off the bench after Harry Kane's bagged a hat-trick in 30 minutes, and B, plenty of cup and competitions that Bayern are going to be in this season. So if that goes through, I don't see any problem. I don't see any more stumbling blocks to that. But what do you think about that? Obviously, 70 mil all told for Nicolas Jackson if he does go. look, it might sound like a lot of money, but you've got players like, what's that, Nick Woltemade moved to Newcastle for 75, 85 mil, Sesko 60, 70 mil. The amount of strikers that have moved for that big money, and then you've obviously got transfers still to happen up to potentially double those fees. When you look at, what Nicolas Jackson's done, 30 goals over 2 seasons, maybe even 35. Look, I think he would kill it in the Bundesliga. I think that's not bad money for a 23-year-old with a couple of seasons in the Premier League under your belt. And I genuinely, I'm not, that figure did not surprise me. While it's like, oh, come on, it did not surprise me one bit.
No, 100%. I think that a player like with Nicolas Jackson's ability, I think he offers more than just like the bagsman. I think he does an awful lot. He can play wide. He's got a lot of heart and a lot of tenacity. He chases balls down, he forces mistakes, but there are a couple of obvious holes in his game, like his first touch, his dribbling, his confidence at points can be a bit of a problem. But yeah, in today's market, it's not wild, but I will say I was pretty gobsmacked by the fee. I won't lie. When I saw the numbers that were going around, I was thinking in excess of 80 million is buck wild for a player like Nicolas Jackson. I just think that Chelsea are known for their good business, at least in the modern era. We're known for that solid good business we've been able to do in the last 20 years, and this is just a prime example of it. A player that everyone's like laughing at Chelsea. Oh, look at that donkey you got up top. Can you believe the opportunity you missed against this club and that club, and all the goals he scored were tap-ins and this and that, and then we get 80 million for him. I think that it says a lot about that ruthless Chelsea sales model. I think that we're really good at getting players out the way that we're getting them in. So yeah, once again, pretty shocked by an £80 million valuation, but at the same time, like, I'm not surprised Chelsea selling a player of that ilk for 80 million.
And you've got to remember, this geezer still has a decade on his contract.
Yep.
He still has 10 years on his contract, bro. That is crazy. But before, obviously there are still a fair few amount of outs to talk about from Chelsea, and we will move on to some of the higher profile moves in a second. But obviously, Chelsea very recently failed to get Xavi Simons, who signed for Tottenham, announced yesterday before the game, and then they went on to lose to Bournemouth at home. Absolutely fantastic. Nothing more Spursy could ever be written. But we have obviously made a couple of additions to the team in the wake of that. One of them has been a done deal, it seems, for 3 months. Thank you very much, Fabrizio Romano, for getting me less excited about a transfer than I have ever been in my life. And you know what? I don't even rate Garnacho, and it wouldn't have been a transfer. I don't think it would have been a transfer I would have been excited for anyway. But the way it's dragged on, the way this guy has just milked every single day, bro. Deal done, no worries. He only wants Chelsea. Brother, I beg you, shut up. And we all know who I'm talking about. I don't even have to say the name, but yeah, for me, it's definitely, I know you said, and we said at the start of the video, that it's been an exciting window. That for me is killing the game. And I do follow Ornstein because, when he tweets something, it's normally official pretty immediately. But I've had to mute these guys, man. Too many people doing far too much. But obviously the player we're talking about, Alejandro Garnacho, joined Chelsea for £40 million plus 10% sell-on clause, I think. So, yeah, not bad money. We've spent that 40 mil fee on quite a few players in that wing position recently. Obviously, Jamie Gittins, another one very recently purchased. And the other one, which surprised me, came out of nowhere, was Buonanotte. I wasn't expecting that. Obviously, it's just a loan deal. We've got an option we've got first refusal, I believe, if we want to sign him next season. But that one came a little bit out of the blue for me. And I don't know, look, I'll back them because they're Chelsea players. But when I wanted Simons and, maybe someone else exciting, to go from them to Garnacho and Buonanotte seems a little bit demoralizing.
Yeah, not
demoralizing, anticlimactic.
Yeah. No, I can feel that. I like the Buonanotte transfer. I think he's a good player. I think that we get the best out of these Brighton project players, and I think that he has been that next one that is kind of showing he's a little bit cut above, and I think we could probably get the best out of him. I do.
What do you think his role is? Because he's obviously 20 years old. Well, I would have said, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, but he ain't got the experience. So
Yeah, it is confusing, especially when you look at the fact that like anyone who plays in between that 8 to 10 role, we've got plenty of, particularly that flat midfielder. So I think that he would probably be more in that attacking midfield sort of 10 role, but where Palmer plays, that kind of thing, where Xavi Simons was expected to play, that kind of thing. That's what I expect from him. And once again, great ball carrier, had a really good game against us last season, I'm pretty sure, and I'm more excited about that one than the Garnacho one. The Garnacho
You're
one,
more excited about Buonanotte than Garnacho.
I think he will just do a little bit more because the thing is with Garnacho is as much as I actually don't mind the player, I think that he's quite an underrated player, to be totally honest. And I've said this a few times. Like a lot of people that they chalk him off as just like edgy, fake Ronaldo type shit. Like he wants to try and beat players and he can't quite do it. I think he's quite good at it, to be honest. And when I look at that left flank, I think that him and Gittins are going to have a lot of healthy competition this season, and I think that the minutes that he gets are going to be interesting. And also, even slipping him in around that right side, we've just lost Tyrique George today, so I think that that's probably a part of getting a new winger in type logic. You know what I mean? Just get one out, get one in.
Well, that was going to be my next point, and I know you said there, it's going to be interesting to see how Garnacho does for minutes. I mean, I assume that he won't start the first game, but I don't know, bro. I think he might be our starting left winger because, the Fulham game, he put George on instead of Gittins early doors. And I know I said it could have been at the time because George did the lone or the false nine role last season against Fulham, but I don't know. Maybe it's a gut feeling, but I feel like Maresca doesn't trust or like Gittins early doors.
It is. I thought we would have seen a lot more from Gittins already this season. I did think we'd see him a lot. It's been very sparing, and when he has played, he's been all right. He had a pretty good game. I can't remember if it was first game of the season or like a week before, but I don't think we even played.
It was a cameo against Bayern Leverkusen when he came.
That was it, right? That was it. And he looked quite sharp, to be totally fair. He looked quite good, but I would have expected him to have a lot more time and a lot more minutes, and the fact that we're buying in another player in that position is interesting to me. I think Gittins will definitely get the start above Garnacho at the minute, personally, and I don't think that's just a longevity thing. One got signed first, so I don't think it really works like that. But I do think that there is a side to Garnacho that we will see eventually. I can't imagine him playing or starting any games in September, to be totally honest.
I think the one thing that he's got going for him is he does have to redeem himself, whereas Gittins hasn't really got as much to prove coming into a new league. Garnacho making that switch from Man United, having such vocal problems on and off the pitch to, making the return within the Premier League, that first game against Man United, and I don't think it's too far away. I think it's just after the international break. That could be nuts. But you said there, and I thought it was as well, but I can't see a here we go. Obviously, there hasn't been an official announcement. But yeah, Fulham had agreed a deal to sign Tyrique George apparently for 22 mil. I've just seen a tweet saying that they've now signed Samu Chukwueze from Villarreal. So I don't know. Maybe that means the Tyrique George deal's off. Maybe they have signed two wingers, but I thought initially that was a good move for George. I thought going to Fulham, you've got some good young talented players there. I think you've got a good manager in Marco Silva as well. So I thought that was a good little project for him. And although I'm gutted to see him go because he's a player that I wanted to do well and to succeed long term at the club, I think 22 million is not bad. And when you consider the fact it's just more profit, and I think that takes our player sales over 300 mil. Yeah, I think it's another tidy little bit of business from Chelsea. But moving away from Chelsea onto another high-profile transfer that's gone through or reportedly gone through today. Gigi Donnarumma, obviously been the talk of the town the last couple of weeks. You've been very vocal about Chelsea potentially putting a bid in for him. I think we've both come to the conclusion that the backroom, the hierarchy have faith in Penders. They have made their decision. Penders is going to be our goalkeeper next season, so there's no point investing big in a goalkeeper who's just going to be a stopgap for a year. Let's assume that's the case. Do you think we will regret not having gone in for a player like Donnarumma available for 40, 50 million, even if it is just for 1-2 seasons, it does seem a little bit too good to be true for me.
I don't understand it. I personally don't understand it. I think that when in the here and now, football is a here and now type sport. You can't just build for the next couple of years, because we'll end up like Arsenal. They've been a project club for the last 15 years, and it's hard for them. I can't imagine what it's like. I feel like Robert Sanchez is not the type of goalkeeper that you have in net every week if you want to win the Premier League, the Champions League, these massive tournaments that we're in this season. Robert Sanchez is not the guy. And although, listen, he's had a solid season to some degree, he has had 2 goals against him chalked off that have been pretty could have maybe got there a little bit, particularly that one against Fulham. He could have probably got to that one. And there's something about him that I don't like. And on top of that, as much as I have also the most faith in the world in Mike Penders will turn good and will be a fantastic player. He is 21 years old, 22 when he comes into the fold next season. What would be wrong with getting in a player in his prime like Gio Donnarumma now? Because he's a player that is in their prime right now. He's still got 5-6 years in his game. Even if we sign him 3 years in net, the things that he can rub off on Penders, who will be getting game time in and around other cup competitions, I think would be the more beneficial option rather than shoehorning a goalkeeper who's been playing week in, week out in Belgium to just start in the Premier League. It's got too big of a task written all over it. And I think that if you can snap up a world-class goalkeeper for in and around that 40-50 million pound fee, I think it's great business, regardless of if you let him go in 3 years on a free. If he's able to perform at the level that I know Donnarumma can perform at, that we've seen against England, we've seen against Chelsea, we've seen against big clubs. I don't know. I think we should have gone for it.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and obviously we both said in our pre-season predictions that realistically it's going to be a struggle for Chelsea to win the league with Robert Sanchez in goal. It is doable. It's not impossible, but it is it is nigh on impossible. He's just not good enough. And yeah, I mean, look, Penders has been getting rave reviews so far this season. I think he grabbed a couple of clean sheets already in his first games for Strasbourg in the league. I watched him the other night against Brøndby. He looks very solid. I think he was at fault for one of the goals, but his distribution looks great. And I think with a full season under his belt in Ligue 1 as Strasbourg's main keeper, look, if he performs like Petrovic did last season, I think that confidence will be enough for him to at least be, competing for that spot. But I do agree, it is a big ask, particularly for a young keeper that's never played in the either in the Premier League or had an extended run at Chelsea. So yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one. I do feel like Chelsea and maybe a couple of other clubs have dropped the ball because I said it in a couple of streams ago. I think Newcastle, should have put a bid in for him. Man City snatched James Trafford out from underneath them. So I think Newcastle should have done the exact opposite. Also, James Trafford, I mean, he's got to be a little bit gutted, being signed as the Ederson replacement. And then 2 weeks later, they've gone in for inarguably one of the world's top 5 goalkeepers who will put him back on the bench. But yeah, it's, another month of big spending for Man City. Again, referring back to our preseason predictions, I'm surprised at how poorly they've started this season. I don't think their games have been, as cut and dry as the results might suggest, but they definitely haven't been as solid as I expected. So, who knows if this will bolster them, but I can't imagine they'll get any worse with a keeper of Donnarumma's quality. And another couple of transfers that we're waiting to go through that would take this team to, well, by a country mile, top spenders in the Premier League. Liverpool looking to break the transfer record for a second time today with the Alexander Isak deal, reportedly all done for 130 mil, as well as signing Mark Guehi for 35 mil, considerably better value for money. Not to say that Isak isn't good value for money because he's one of the best strikers in the world, but Guehi for 35 million seems like a steal. What do you make of Liverpool's? Because you obviously had Chelsea winning the league in your preseason predictions. What do you think that does to those predictions? Does that just make Liverpool bang on favourites?
I think that they are favoured anyways. You know, I really do, and I just my logic with not putting them first is just you lose all of these players that have had such a massive impact. You bring in all of these new players, and you need it to gel immediately. You know, like Szoboszlai last season, I didn't think he really clicked, and now it's starting to come together. Obviously, I'm not just talking about the free kick; his overall game's improved, but like getting two new strikers in, new midfielder in, new fullbacks left and right back in. Like it's an awful lot of new centre back in. I think it's an awful lot of moving parts. I think so far this season, I think when you look at Liverpool's game and how they've been playing, I think they look a little bit shaky at the back. I'll be honest. I do. I think particularly their centre backs look a little bit off it. Virgil van Dijk, although he's still a very, very solid centre back, he's shades away from where he was 4 or 5 years ago. It's no question about it. Other donut that was playing next to him, was it Konate? I think he's an absolute trash bin on legs. I think he's garbage. So
he had a great game against Arsenal, to be fair, but prior to that, this season he has been dreadful. And
the
Joe
first
Gomez
two games,
similarly, unreliable.
And once again, like looking good against Arsenal, who have just been toothless. You know, I'm not going to give him one good game and be like, okay, he's back in the mix. Replacing him with Mark Gahey is fantastic business, you know, and obviously Gahey left Palace with that fantastic goal. I feel like he's right at the top right now, like where he's been professionally in his career. I think this is the best we've ever seen him. I think obviously with the internationals coming up very shortly, I think he's going to want to do that, you know, want to play as well as he can week in, week out for more than just Liverpool's sake. So, yeah, I think that it is really, really fantastic business. But once again, Isak, Wirtz, Frimpong, Kirkes, Gahey, although these are individually absolutely fantastic signings, no question, how do all of these players, 5, 6, 7 new first team members, how do they all gel at the same time right now in a into a winning recipe? Pardon? Yeah, Ekatike, that's what I mean.
Two strikers.
Honestly, but there's just so many of them, man. There's so many of them, and once again, listen, Ekatike particularly is a great example of this. But like, I think he's been individually fantastic since he's arrived. Florian Wirtz individually, I don't think he's been amazing. Frimpong obviously just straight out injured. Kirkes up down. Let's see how it all gels. You know, there will be a couple banana skins this season. They're not going to make 115 points. It's not going to happen. You know, let's just see where the wind blows. And I think that right now, when you look at Liverpool versus Chelsea, when you look at the how well the new signings have gelled into the way we're playing football, shout out VAR. I think Chelsea have been probably the scariest side so far.
I mean, one of 3 unbeaten teams in the Premier League. Listen, it's a fact. We ain't, you know, we don't make the rules. Only 3 teams left, and Arsenal ain't one of them. Speaking of which, what do you think of Hincapié? Just a quick word on another centre-back signing. Do you think they've done enough to cross that bridge and to close that gap with Liverpool and City this year, or just sign too many centre-backs?
I just think that I think with Arsenal, right, it's let's just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, you know. And I think that they've been prone to that for a minute now. It's funny, before the Liverpool Arsenal game, I was talking to my boy, shout out Moses if you're watching. I know you said you're gonna, but we were talking about what is Arsenal's best back line. I think we chopped up 4 or 5 different variations of what it could be when everyone's fit, and I don't think we got to a concrete answer. I think it's a difficult question, and that is a problem in and of itself. You know, if you don't know who, particularly out wide, is going to be the best defensive structure, obviously there's the Gabriel Saliba sort of double pairing. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they are just throwing shit at the fan and just seeing what lands where, and just hoping that eventually they can muster up points. I think this is going to be. I really do think this is Arteta's final season. I really do. I don't see them winning much. And the way that they've been looking, as I said before, I think they look a little bit toothless. I think they look a bit drained going forward. So yeah, I'm not too impressed by their overall window.
No, I agree. And throwing shit at a fan sounds a lot more messy than throwing shit at a wall. I can't
I think
imagine
they're
throwing
just
shit
throwing
at a
it in the
fan.
fan and just
I'm not sure what the
blowing it up.
I'm not sure what the idea is behind the plan is behind throwing shit at a fan, but whatever it is, it ain't good. And yeah, fair enough, because Teta's whatever he's called, whatever his name, Netanyahu, Teton Laden, whatever, he's so lost. And you're right. I mean, heaven forbid they actually, you know what? I kind of want them, not kind of want them, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they did win a minor trophy this season, because then Arteta would probably stay. That would probably buy him another 3-4 years, and then you just end up with an Arsene Wenger situation whereby they're loyal to a fault to an absolute fucking loser. But luckily, that's not a problem we have to deal with. Similarly, quick thoughts on Tottenham. Obviously, they've signed some exciting players this window. Randall Kolo Muani joining the fold today. I mean, the majority of focus has been on the attack, but Palhinha, Kudus, I think great signings. Xavi Simons, exciting player. What do you make of their recruitment? Obviously, big change for them, getting rid of Ange. Do you think Thomas Frank is going to do bits with those players?
They are very Thomas Frank players, if you know what I mean. Like it is, it makes sense, particularly Xavi Simons, Kudus, like going for. I think the Kolo Muani one. It was quite surprising for me. I think he's a pretty underrated striker, and I think that he can do pretty well, especially with the way that Tottenham have been playing this season. I think that he will when they've been playing in the more positive loop. Because I feel like no matter what manager, there's always two versions of Spurs that can show up. Right? There's the really aggressive, tenacious, defensively sound team, and then there's the suicide ball and ball Tottenham, where they just sprinting up and down, up and down, up and down, and eventually just either get a game ends 4-3 their way or 1-0 the other way. So, hopefully for their sake, Kolo Muani is a good baller and he can pick it up, but he's a very Tottenham up and down, inconsistent type player. Xavi Simons is really good though. I think that he's a really important player for them. And I've spoke at length about how talented he is, particularly in the midfield going forward, how he can go left, right, he can play passes, he can shoot from range. I like him, and I think that he will do probably very well at Spurs. I think Spurs have had a very solid window, to be totally honest. And once again, the retrospect is a funny thing. I think I'm more impressed now with the Kudus signing than I was when it was sort of first announced. I think I'm a little bit more sort of, fine. They've had a solid window. Man, good for them. But once again, it's only Spurs, isn't it? So let them beat Man City 2-0 and then lose to Watford in the FA Cup. It's fine. It's completely expected.
It's so funny how they just stick to the same.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely
every
hilarious.
time they'll beat City, then every time they'll lose the game after. Like every season they'll start well and then just drop off at Christmas.
Yeah.
It is just they follow the same blueprint. It is just in their nature. But we'll circle back to Chelsea because I feel like we've covered the main or the big ones from today and the window. So Chelsea have obviously had very busy window, but you wouldn't actually think that because in the last couple of weeks, I mean, we definitely haven't had as much excitement coming in as we maybe would have expected. I think a few less players going out than we would have expected as well. I don't doubt that there will still be a few loan moves. There's still a few deals to be finalised. Talks of Ben Chilwell going to Strasbourg. I think Disasi, I don't know if Crystal Palace might go in for him. But a couple of players could still potentially leave. But what do you think about Chelsea's business so far this window? Obviously, net spend of 10, 20 million as is. Do you think we've addressed all the problems we needed to, bar the goalkeeper, because we kind of spoke about that earlier? What would your rating be for the window, and what would you have done differently, or what else would you have wanted?
Listen, I am so happy with Joao Pedro, Liam Delap, the players that we've been able to get in who look the part already. I think in the midfield, like even the small things, like not selling Andre Santos and keeping him in the fold and giving him minutes. I like that a lot, and I'll give us an 8 because there's only two things that could have got us more than that. I think if we signed a world-class centre-back and a world-class goalkeeper, it's a 10-10 window. Because I think we've got one of the best right-backs in the world in Reece James, on his day, the best right-back in the world. I think we've got the best left-back on his day in Cucurella as well. Caicedo, world-class. Enzo Fernandez is approaching that world-class calibre. I think that when you look around, there's potential world-class players everywhere. You've got Cole Palmer, who has been world class and has kind of little dive a little bit, and then going forward, obviously Joao Pedro, as my sister says in the comment section, Esteval, he's got potential world-class player on him. Like, I think that right now what we're building is a team of individual brilliance, which eventually is going to culminate in a world-class team. But as I said, we need a world-class centre-back, we need a world-class goalkeeper, and if we did sign them this window, I'd say it's 10-10 and we're going to win the league. And as much as I do still believe, and I've got money on Chelsea winning the league, I genuinely have faith in it. I think that there is a centre-back that we could have acquired in this window that would have been like, yeah, they're fully in with it now.
Go on, who is that final piece to the puzzle? Because obviously, I'm assuming your goalkeeper would have been Donnarumma. Who's your final piece? Who's that world-class centre-back that
to be
Chelsea?
To be totally honest, the one that I wanted for the most, who was floating around transfers, was Mark Gahey. That was one that we spoke about saying that we wanted. I do believe there was like a little bit of rumblings like a month ago or so. And obviously, links with Chelsea in the past. I think that there's the fact that he's played so much Premier League football at captaincy level. He knows how the game works and ticks in the league. Outside of the league, it's difficult. Probably a couple of fucking German league defenders would make it. Probably a couple I can't fucking think of or know. But honestly, I just wanted a starting centre back with a bit of captaincy experience, someone who can lead at the back. I just think Tosin is not the leader that we need, and I think that centre back is always the best form of captaincy. There were a few that I'm trying to think of in Spain as well that I was mentioning a few months ago that I said that we should have got.
The main ones that were linked or rumoured, obviously, Bastoni, Araujo from Barcelona.
That's the one, Araujo. That's the one that I was saying we really should have gone in for, Ronald Araujo. I think he's another great one. He's still very young, Barcelona experience, a lot of minutes in seasons, knows how to play a full season with Champions League. Can lead from the back. Yeah, that's the other one that I was trying to put my finger on.
Yeah, I still am a big fan. I was a bigger fan of him a year ago. I think last year he was pretty dreadful. Across the season, he didn't cover himself in glory. He's still a very good player, don't get me wrong, but it definitely hurt his transfer fee. And there were talks of, it went from he's unsellable, he's our captain, he plays every week, he needs to sign a new contract to, yeah, go on, you could have him for 50 mil. We're not that fast. So centre back's always one of them. They're always going to be extremely expensive. They're very rarely going to be, a Van Dijk, a Thiago Silva, an absolute monster. But look, I think we've got it. We've definitely got enough players. Whether we've got enough quality, we will see. Whether, the youth coming up, Harrison, Murray, Campbell, certain players like that will get a chance to impress. Who knows? Joel Hato, another player that's been signed and we haven't really seen. Want to see more of him. Fofana working back from injury. I'd like to think, and being positive, I hope that we do have enough at centre-back to cover Colwell while he's out. But yeah, I don't disagree. Earlier in the window, I don't know why teams wait so long to make their move, but earlier in the window, I definitely, I maybe wouldn't have been against it. Well, after the Levi Colwell injury anyway. But yeah, let us know in the comments what you think, what you would rate Chelsea's window. We'll go through the comments real quick. Appreciate Charms's sister being in here, as well as Abdi. Big up the family, big up the support. Abdi would also go an 8 if he had to rate this transfer window. Lily, if you're watching, what would you rate this Chelsea transfer window out of 10? I'm assuming she's a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, big time.
You taught her well, bro. Come on.
Yeah, come on now. She was at the game on the weekend.
She what?
She was at the game on the weekend. She took my ticket.
I thought you said she liked the game. I was like, raw.
No, her mate is chopping Cole Palmer though. Her mate is. Hey.
Crazy. Wait, how young is she?
Hey, she's 25, man. Bake off. For
some reason, I thought she was young. All right. You've never. This is the first time I've ever heard that you have a sister.
Yeah,
we've been doing this for 2 years. I had no idea you had a sister. I just assumed she would have been a baby sister.
No. I've got
what I know.
I've got.
Talking to me like I know your family tree, brother.
I got bare siblings, fam.
And I just assumed because you told me you were an Arsenal family, so I just assumed.
Whoa! I swear I'm from Arsenal ends. Exactly. My family.
So your family are pagans.
No, my family blew through and through. My mom an AC Milan fan. My stepdad a fucking Chelsea fan from birth. My dad's a fan of the pack. My birth dad's just a fan of Packet, fam. That's it.
Big
But
up to the
listen,
army, man. Big up to
come
Danny
on,
boy. Be safe.
the armies.
Fucking
But
hell.
listen,
It is what it is,
yeah.
man.
So back to reality. Fantastic window so far from Chelsea. Um, transfer window not sure. RIP. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all you had to do was give a rating out of 10, Lily.
Yeah. Just say
I mean,
just say 8 in it, mate.
just
Like
it just
it's not
is
that
yeah, just
difficult.
7 or 8 when you would it just would have
Do you know
been
what I
easier.
mean? Get
But
Trevor
it
in
is
the
what it
chat,
is.
bro. See, get his opinion on it.
Let us know in the
Uh,
comments, guys. Make sure to drop a comment. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. This is obviously, as I said at the start of the video, our first live stream back in a while. We're going to try and do the odd live stream, but of course, our normal schedule this year is going to be 2 Blues Tuesdays, new videos dropping every single Tuesday, as well as chopping it up with Charms, dropping on Friday, Loan Watch, Academy Watch, match reports. You're going to get so much Chelsea content from us this season. Make sure to plug in at 2 Blues Podcast on the Instagram and the TikTok as well. Love for watching. Charms, you got anything you want to say?
I just think that this transfer window has been very fun. It's been very exciting. Fun, Fabrizio Romano. You ruined football. You forced transfers, and you're a pagan bellend. And I don't have much time and ratings for you because you've got rid of the surprise element of football, which made this game so beautiful and which made the transfer saga so interesting. I've never seen a here we go again. So trust Chelsea to get that one moving with the Nicolas Jackson saga. And yeah, you wouldn't have needed to do that. You just kept your lips shut and waited for things to be confirmed before you announced them.
Also, the Lucas Paquetá saying that night, he's agreed a deal to Aston Villa. The player wants to leave, and then
So
scoring
what's
the
he
next day
talking
and the
about?
phone celebration. Unbelievable from Paquetá. And if he
Get
leaves
out of
now,
here.
if he leaves now, it'll be the funniest thing ever. Imagine. Puts a transfer request at 6:59 on deadline day. Anyway, you know what it is, people. You know where to find us. More Chelsea content coming very, very soon. Appreciate everyone that continues to tune in and support the channel. Love from myself, love from Charms. Big up, hot the Chelsea.